Welcome to the Intrazone Roadmap Pitstop January 2021 edition. This is a bonus monthly show that answers that burning question in your mind. What's rolling out now for SharePoint and related technology in Microsoft 365? I'm Mark Cashman, Senior Product Manager on the Microsoft 365 marketing team, here to set that ongoing record straight. This month, I talk with Dan Holm, our now product management lead at Yammer. That's right, he's on the engineering team. We chat about his new work and life centered around the value of recent Yammer employee experiences technology, past, present, and future. The start to 2021 brings loads of new innovation across the spectrum of employee engagement and teamwork across the internet. We'll focus on what landed this month, a few related items, and always fun teasers looking into next month. This podcast is your 30 minutes to kick back and get informed to always stay ahead of the ever-curving Microsoft 365 roadmap. Before we dive into everything, I wanted to highlight one big Intrazone milestone. This is our 100th episode. Woo! Cue the poppers and blowers. Wah! Sounds of fanfare. Trumpets blaring. That's right. Collectively, across topics, roadmap pit stops, and partner episodes, 100 total episodes. A big thank you to our producer, Lisa, our audio engineers, Mike, Dave, and Patrick, my co-host, that Mr. Chris McNulty, and to you, community that braves entering the Intrazone throughout the year. Many, many, many thanks. Okay, on to the tech that rolled out in January 2021. As we always do, we start with employee engagement, that one-to-many communication across your intranet, across your organization. First item, notifications from Yammer communities are now available in Microsoft Teams. With millions of employees working remotely or in hybrid environments, it's more important than ever for employees to feel connected. Teams makes it easier to collaborate with others, create workspaces, chat, meet virtually with others, and integrate your business solutions all from a single platform. So that's Teams. Bringing Yammer, what does that mean, especially for conversations? Many conversations extend beyond your work groups and departments, linking employees who may have never met or who have never worked together. These types of engagements are happening in communities. Last year, we released the Communities app for Microsoft Teams, which brings all of your Yammer communities and conversations into Teams. And today, we're excited to take that integration to the next level. Now, you will receive Yammer notifications in the Teams activity feed on web, desktop, and mobile. This means that you can be notified in Teams for high-value scenarios when announcements are made in communities that you are a member of, and when you are mentioned in a conversation. You can like, read, respond to the post, and react with our new inclusive reactions without leaving Teams. Speaking of Yammer reactions being inclusive, that's our next employee engagement item. We believe that Yammer, a tool that connects people and helps build communities, has an important role to play for a sense of belonging and inclusion. And we don't want to simply build for inclusivity, we want to celebrate it. We want users to feel a deeper sense of representation when interacting in the new Yammer. Once you select your skin tone, which you can set both for web and mobile, you can react quickly without having to decide every time you reply. Yammer will be the first of the Microsoft 365 products to offer inclusive reactions. We're excited to lead the charge with other product groups at Microsoft in keeping inclusivity at the center of everything that we do. To round out the Yammer news, there is a really great post that gives a good summary of all the Yammer innovation that launched in January 2021. This includes a new Yammer Embed experience, the Yammer tab for Teams channels, an updated live events Q&A support, a share to Yammer from SharePoint, and of course, a lot more. I'll have a link in the show notes to review all in more detail. Our last item in employee engagement is for admins. So, admins, get your ears ready. Big changes are coming, but ones we think you're going to love. We're bringing together the OneDrive settings into the SharePoint Admin Center to deliver one streamlined, centralized admin zone for all things OneDrive and SharePoint. Aligning to our coherence and modernization efforts, we're working hard to unify these experiences by bringing consistent design, naming conventions, look and feel, and more to enable a smoother admin experience across Microsoft 365, the full admin suite. So we're happy to announce that you'll be able to have a holistic control over OneDrive and SharePoint in the same location. Now, from within inside the SharePoint Admin Center, you can control internal and external sharing, set user access controls, manage default storage limits, enable user device notifications, specify retention policies, and manage sync controls for OneDrive. This all alongside managing sites, policies, migration, and more to best control and manage your vast, intelligent internet from one single admin center. So now that we've cleared the books for a lot of employee experiences features that launched in January 2021, let's turn to hear a little bit more behind the scenes of what's going on in the Yammer world with our friend of the pod and, of course, friend of mine, being that I've reported to Dan and I've known Dan for a while. Let's hear from Dan Holm all about his new role and his new world over in Yammer. So now that we've talked about very distinct technical features that have launched for employee experiences this month, let's turn to a human employee experience. In fact, one of the humans that I think might have coined the employee experiences from a Microsoft perspective, how we talk about this set of features. But he's got a lot of personal news, he's got a lot of technical news, and you know him from previous episodes on the Interzone. Dan Holm, welcome back to the Interzone.
Hey, Mark. Thank you so much for having me back.
Thank you for coming on. Now, I know the last time that we talked was a little bit ago as far as the world is concerned. You and I, of course, are pretty closely on the same team here at Microsoft. But the last time we had you on the Interzone was September 2018, so a few years ago, less than 2 years ago, but still a while in technical terms. And we grabbed you just after your keynote at the SharePoint Fest Seattle. You had everything to talk about then, and we did talk about everything. But here we want to kind of layer into what's changed. I think you have some work news, change moving from marketing to engineering. What's up? What's going on?
Yeah, that's right. I am putting aside my marketing hat and am putting on a hat to actually work on the product itself. So I've moved over to the Yammer and Groups team to lead a set of very talented PMs to drive integrations for community superpowers into Teams and Outlook and elsewhere in the suite.
So moving to Yammer, it moves right into what you were basically marketing. So getting closer to the product, getting closer to the product team, what we often refer to as the engineering team, the developers. What specific role, you're going to, I'm guessing, lead a team. What specific area, if you think of where people use Yammer or how they use Yammer, what are some of the things that we can expect that you'll have your hand in?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think broadly speaking, we certainly believe that, and we're hearing from customers that communities are more important than ever. The pandemic and the world of hybrid and remote work has disconnected people in really significant ways. And while most of us have figured out how to connect remotely to collaborate and to get work done, we still have challenges driving company culture and communication, sharing knowledge, sharing ideas, and just feeling engaged with each other. And Yammer has always had superpowers that deliver those kinds of outcomes. But to date, while we have done a lot of incredible work on Yammer over the past year or two, people still have to go to Yammer to experience the full superpowers of Yammer. And so we're really dedicated to bringing those superpowers into the apps that people spend all their time in. We've brought Yammer into the inbox. We've brought it into Teams, SharePoint, and broadly speaking, I'll be continuing those efforts to integrate Yammer and bring its scenarios and superpowers into Teams and Outlook and into the suite.
I've always liked that capability of being able to take advantage of the value, but minimizing how often people have to context switch. So if I am having a conversation with my community, but I'm primarily somebody who works in email, and that is still me, gray-haired me, but not by just because of age. It's just a preference, that's just where I sit. And as more and more circles around both Teams and Outlook, what I need to do in Yammer, which is a lot, I oftentimes work with our field, I work with our MVPs, and it's kind of sometimes a one-to-many announcement. It's a lot of answering questions or gathering feedback, but it's really nice to be able to not switch an app and not switch user interfaces, which I appreciate. There's two things about your move besides that I think it's just a wonderful move. When anybody goes from marketing to engineering, I always feel like they're getting closer to the heart of Microsoft.
Yeah.
But in your description of what you're doing, and I think what the teams are now doing together, is it's Yammer and groups, with one real clear distinction that I've seen really resonate with the literally the tech community, is us describing Yammer in the context of communities. So you've seen probably some of the memes, a Yammer group is now a Yammer community.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the clarification, Microsoft. So, and I think we have a lot to thank for you as well, as long as the team, whomever helped ground that into what is, like you said, the superpower of Yammer. That's a real clear indication. And again, not switching multiple apps, but just having that value is really key. Let's talk about Yammer communities. When we think about what's shipping now, what are some of the things that you would ground that are not just what you're going to be working on, but things that people can take advantage of right now in that Yammer world?
Well, now's a great time to build communities with Yammer and with the Communities app and Teams, because we have rounded out the work that we celebrated as the year of Yammer. At Ignite 2019, we announced our vision for Yammer, and we spent the ensuing 12 or 14 months delivering what we promised. We reimagined the experience across web and mobile. We delivered integrations with the inbox that you were just referring to. We brought the brand new Yammer experience into SharePoint, into custom websites through the embed, and most importantly, perhaps into Teams with the Communities app, which now everyone can use. One of the great outcomes of that is exactly what you said, less context switching. Even as director of marketing for Yammer, I found my usage of Yammer and my engagement went up because I was able to engage with announcements and answer questions right in my inbox, or use the Communities app and Teams. And so those are really significant innovations that people can take advantage of today. The Communities app is there. Notifications from Yammer and Communities now appear in your Teams activity feed. And very importantly, we're currently shipping external users in Communities through Azure B2B. So now when you're collaborating with partners or customers or external stakeholders, you're going to be able to give them a first-class experience in a Yammer community, which is super cool.
Yeah, with at least two of what you just described, but specifically the Yammer notifications in my Teams feed, in my activity feed, that has been a huge value to me primarily, and I hate to even admit it, so that I don't miss things. Not only the context switching of just putting my hat on and I have an answer and now I have to move to an app and I hope I remember what I was thinking, but it really is just that. I may not go to each of the applications with the same amount of time during the day, so I might miss something, and that might just be more timing, not necessarily miss it long term. But just getting that a notification in my feed that I'm kind of more in these days is a real time saver for me to reply, but also that timeliness for the other person who might be, looking for an answer, at least getting, who is the next person I need to talk to.
Yeah.
The other things that always resonated with me, and I'd love to hear sort of what has been the latest innovation in the space of the Yammer web part. We know it's kind of been this capability for a long time to be able to embed Yammer into SharePoint, and the value there with a portal or a site or even now these days a broader newsletter to be able to really truly embed two-way engagement. But let's put a little extreme to it, and then maybe you can describe the refinements that not only make it possible, but make it actually better. Let's say I build a broader site. It doesn't have to be a company portal. I'm somebody who owns a product and I want to push it out, amongst a company of many products. And on this page, I embed a Yammer experience so that if people have questions, they have any, feedback that they can provide them. So I put that in my page and I do it in a way that's, a pretty way that SharePoint provides. Now I put that page as a tab in Teams that's also a broader team. Walk me through what refinements to the web part enable that value on top?
Yeah, great question. One of the key things we've done is ensure that the community experience is coherent across any place, any endpoint, as we call it technically, where a user might engage with the community. So the SharePoint web part, the conversations web part, now features the exact same capabilities as you would get in the Yammer app or in the communities app across web and mobile. So that means you can post any type of post, whether it's a discussion or a question, for example. You can reply fully. You've got rich formatting, attachments. Everything you need to drive that engagement is there, regardless of whether you're doing it in a standalone community, in a web part that's part of a broader page that brings content and conversation together. And maybe you've gone that last step and brought that page into Teams. That is a phenomenal way to bring that scenario and that use case into the hub for work.
Yeah, I love the parity of the design and the capabilities. I don't have to feel limited to what I can do, even if it's there. I never feel like I need to go to Yammer to finish something or to do a really more technical task.
Exactly.
So if this whole last year was the hashtag Year of Yammer, if we just creep in to look forward to 2021 and some of the things that, at least by strategy, that you can share here, let us know if you have a new hashtag. We'll start to drum it up. Any new, what's this year for Yammer going to be? The even more Year of Yammer? It's kind of long. What do you think?
I would love to get ideas from the community. One of the great points about a community is that it can generate ideas from diverse perspectives. So if you've got an idea for a hashtag, I would love to hear it. Certainly any good original deserves an even better sequel. And we definitely have some great plans for the coming year. We're going to continue our investments in questions and answers and bringing them into a broader set of scenarios. We're bringing great new experiences to live events, as we gave a hint to at Ignite, building stronger connections between Yammer conversation topics and the work that we've done for topic experiences across the suite. And we'll definitely be bringing more of Yammer superpowers more deeply into Teams, Outlook, and SharePoint. So it's going to be a great sequel, and I'd love to get people's ideas for a new hashtag.
Okay, well, I'm going to throw in one hashtag suggestion. I know you're going to override it because I know you too well, but because of your change, I'm going to call it the Year of Dan.
Well, thanks, Mark.
Before I lose you and before we move on to teamwork in this episode of the Interzone, you have made a move to Yammer, and we've been talking about employee experiences. There's one thing that's a little bit more of a life move that's pretty close to home, literally, for me. And that's your move to Arizona, your sunny experiences. I'm dying every time I see a picture that you post that always shows what my mom likes to describe as the severe clear. Just briefly, I'd love to hear it personally, and I think our audience would too, just that life move to Arizona, a little bit behind it. And I have one request after you explain a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. Part of the change in my role was also a change in where I live. I moved from Seattle down to Phoenix, Arizona, which is someplace I had lived for 10 years earlier in my life. So it basically went from Phoenix to Maui to Seattle. And being in Seattle is fantastic. It's a beautiful place, really vibrant city. But during the pandemic, I really had the opportunity, as many of us did, to reflect on what's most important to me in this point in my life. And family and friends were at the top of the list. And not that I didn't have great friends up in Seattle, but we have a very deep network here. And also, importantly, a lifestyle that would allow me to get outside and enjoy the outdoors in the way that I like to. And I, for better or for worse, I'm a Pisces. I like sun. I like water. And so I made a change for my own well-being and moved down to Phoenix. And I'm really thrilled that Microsoft not only responded and supported my change, but also brought this great new opportunity for me.
I think it's wonderful. You know, when I first heard the news from you, I was so pleased for all the reasons that you just stated. And I hinted at, I have that as a close to home space because I grew up in Tucson, Arizona, just 111 miles just south of Phoenix, where, yes, there was a Tower Records. I maybe never drove up there every other month, but in the days when records were hot. But, I always had to worry in Arizona that the records might melt. So we just drove really fast. Joking aside, Dan, my mom still lives in Tucson. My sister's down there with my mom, keeping her company during COVID. And they are huge big Dan fans.
I love your family.
If there's a chance, either here on the Interzone or if you want to drive down and give them a quick shout out, just if you would say hi to my mom and my sister.
Hi, Mom. Hi, sister. It's been a long time since we saw each other, and I hope you're doing well down there in Tucson. If you're ever up here in Phoenix, let me know, and I'll certainly let you know when I come down there.
Well, thank you, Dan, for bringing sunshine to the Interzone, and certainly thank you to bringing your smarts to what I know that you've done and what I know that you're going to do, and of course for your time today sharing with our audience.
Well, thank you, Mark, for inviting me, and most importantly, for everything you've done over the years for this community and with this podcast. It's really an honor to be here. Thanks.
I've always enjoyed knowing Dan, working for Dan, talking to Dan, so I'm really pleased that you got to hear directly from Dan what he's up to and specifically what he's up to for your Yammer future. So let's move into teamwork, that collaborative nature of working with SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, working with files, lists, tasks, all of that in the context of getting work done day-to-day, one-to-one, one-to-few in your team. This first item is big. We are now enabling 250 gigabyte file uploads. That's right, 250 is the new 100. Remote work and learning increases the need to reliably and securely share large files like 4K or 8K video files, 3D models, CAD files, or large scientific data sets to share them and work with them with your coworkers, clients, and peers. We're making it easier than ever for you to store, sync, and share large files in Microsoft 365. Our latest improvement will help increase the upload file size for Microsoft 365 from 100 gigabytes to 250 gigabytes, which includes uploads of files into SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive. So gain more flexibility with 250 gig file size support across Microsoft 365. Next up is Microsoft Lists app for iOS. Your iPhone and soon iPad will now be able to access lists for you on the go, anytime, anywhere. Microsoft Lists is a Microsoft 365 app that helps you track information and organize work. Lists are simple, smart, and flexible, so you can stay on top of what matters most to you and your team, now even on the go. The app is fully functional, giving you the agility to create lists from scratch or using one of our ready-made templates. You can manage list items, share lists, take your lists offline, work in the dark with dark mode, and more. So I wanted to share a few notes. To sign in, the Microsoft Lists app for iOS requires a Microsoft 365 or Office 365 subscription plan where SharePoint is included. You cannot sign in with a consumer Microsoft account set of credentials. Like I had mentioned before briefly, iPad support is coming soon, and we are working on a Microsoft Lists app for Android, and we'll have more to share later this year. Sticking with lists, let's talk about Microsoft Lists rules. You can now create simple if-then rules based on changes to list information to set reminders and to send notifications. Users with edit permissions on the list can create and manage rules. Users with read-only permissions can't create or manage rules. Once the feature is available to your users, they'll be able to create a rule by selecting Automate and then create a rule in the list command bar at the top of a list. This will give you the way to basically build out a sentence that creates the rule that you want to build based on the structure of your list. A lot of great resources to show you how to create a rule, how to delete a rule, and even edit a rule to change it over time. A lot of things you can do with rules to keep yourself and other people informed of what's happening to the information that you're tracking. Now, specific in a list, we have some innovation that is coming so that you can better configure and customize your forms. The JSON list form customization is now available and rolling out to affect the footer, header, and the body text. You can now configure the list form in a list or a library. This does apply to document libraries with a custom header, footer, and a form body with one or more sections with fields in each of those sections. The form configuration does not change the data in the list item or the file. It only changes how the form is displayed to users who browse the list or the library. Anyone who can create and manage views in a list can use form configurations to configure the form with header, footer, body, and whatnot. I'll have a link that will take you to not only the latest announcement, but to a really nice video from my peer in engineering that will show you the ins and outs of how you can do this, including some sampled JSON so that you can start to play with how you configure your forms. Before we jump into related tech, I wanted to share a community member shout out. A hello to Tim in Colorado. Hello, Tim! Full transparency, I first met Tim for coffee during Ignite 2019. He is also friends with my sister, and when I talked with Laura the other day, she shared interesting information that I couldn't resist. Tim is not only a fan of the Interzone, thank you very much, Tim. He is responsible for guiding his company, a large international distribution company, towards SharePoint and Microsoft 365. So that's 12,000 employees in the US and 41,000 people worldwide collaborating on documents and on information, primarily business to business, to distribute electrical products, solutions, and services. And Tim, I wanted to say congratulations to your recent promotion, and thanks for being on this journey with us from BPOS to Microsoft 365 here in the Interzone and, of course, beyond. And please say hi to Laura when you see her next. On to related technology. First up, the ability to push tasks from corporate to frontline workers with task publishing in Teams. It's now reached general availability. Task publishing is a way for leadership to create tasks centrally at the corporate level and push them to targeted frontline locations like stores, clinics, and factories. Tasks can be assigned to all frontline teams or specific locations based on customizable publishing characteristics like size or layout. After tasks are assigned, frontline workers see a simple list of their task assignments through Teams, while corporate has full visibility into progress across all locations. This really helps pull up the capabilities when you think of what is the task service throughout Microsoft 365. It now gives that great capability to push tasks from one to many. The next related item is really a new site that Microsoft manages called WorkLab. WorkLab leverages Microsoft expertise and research, as well as customer voices, to spark conversation on the changing world of work. You'll find stories like Together Mode's origin, who knew that Stephen Colbert was involved, to tips on how to improve your meeting culture. You'll hear from an expert on workplace friendships, learn about technology opportunities for frontline workers, and discover new ways to find balance in ever-evolving workday environments. It's a great offering, I think, to give a lens through learnings not only on the technology that we provide, but based on all the research and customer feedback that we get, it's sharing back more insights into how you can manage your workday through the WorkLab site from Microsoft. Last in related tech is a white paper I think you'll want to dig into if your interest lies around Microsoft Content Services. I mainly want to share a link so that you can read what our approach is to grow your organizational intelligence with knowledge and content in Microsoft 365. This is really for those that are interested to go deeper in understanding our broad range of knowledge and content management capabilities. I've read it. It's a good read for people that are really establishing good content services, good content management. This is a foundational primer before jumping into things like SharePoint syntax, metadata management, or what's coming for topics in Microsoft 365. Give the services white paper a read, and then you'll have a really great understanding of what the art of the possible for enterprise content management in Microsoft 365 is all about. Okay, close your eyes. Let us all peer into the crystal ball of the near future. Here are 2 teasers for what's coming in February 2021. Teaser number 1. The SharePoint Web Part Toolbox is getting a really nice update. I will save the particulars for next month. Teaser number 2, Microsoft Search is coming to classic SharePoint sites, rounding out that broader Microsoft Search experience everywhere. That's it. That's this month's Crystal Ball. We'll share more details and other features and updates within the full SharePoint Roadmap Pitstop February 2021 edition next month. let us bring this 100th episode to the home stretch. We've added a list of important resource links in the show notes and in corresponding blog post on the Microsoft Tech community within the SharePoint community blog, giving you all that you need to get up to speed and stay ahead. I hope you've enjoyed this Roadmap Pit Stop. Time to relax knowing that you are all caught up for this month of 2021. If anything still leaves you scratching your head with open questions or concerns, please send us an email with your thoughts and comments to theintrozone@microsoft.com. We're here to put our and your best change management foot forward. Until next month, when that 101st episode drops, may your SharePoint team point you the way to kickstart productivity in 2021.